We have Jesse Dill. Jesse's the Director of Development at the City of Burnaby, and so thank you, Jesse, for joining us today, and looking forward to hearing what you have to share with us. I'll just switch over the PowerPoint.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. And yeah, I'll just start by acknowledging that Burnaby is on the unceded and ancestral lands of the Hunkaminam and Squamish-speaking peoples, and to extend gratitude for the opportunity to work on those lands and to plan on those lands. So I thought just for the 8 to 10 minutes that I have, I would talk to you a little bit about our development wing at the City of Burnaby. We're really trying our best to lean up our processes and accelerate housing. And so with that, there's 5 active non-market projects to highlight for you today. These projects all have some involvement by BC Builds, some more than others, and we can get into that. But certainly it's worth acknowledging that this provincial support and BC Builds specifically is also combined with a number of City of Burnaby policies that we've been at for some years now to both secure rental housing, support tenants, and move the housing file forward. So the goal of my presentation, I'll just throw a bunch of projects at you, see what lands, ask me questions later. I can send you very long reports, and we'll make the most of this. I want to really kind of think about it from lessons learned. So let's start with Royal Oak. This is certainly an interesting development that's several years old now in terms of its development approval process, and it's just moving towards building permit issuance now. This is a BCGEU-led development application where they both have their office space proposed, some commercial at grade, but then up to 292 rental units above, with a large portion of those being non-market. So it was interesting, it was great working on this project. One of the that we require through the rezoning process, full architectural drawings, stormwater management plans, civil plans. But when it comes to the planning approvals, we notice, especially for non-market housing projects, the evolution of the design is inevitably having to take place to, whether it's to respond to escalating construction costs or, to be opportunistic to opportunities. We've had a few cases where, let's say, a non-market project has the opportunity to add a few stories, add a few more units. So we looked at it and, lessons learned is certainly if you're a local government and you're looking at these projects, consider at the rezoning stage some flexibility, right? To build in that opportunity for further design revisions prior to BP issuance, prior to construction start, right? We've also, on our more recent projects, we've allowed developments to include more contemporary zoning, so such as like parking reductions, reducing levels of parking. We have minor DVPs, staff delegated, where they can issue, variances up to 50% on some things. So definitely use all the tools within your toolbox. So yeah, this is an interesting one. West Group's leading this one. This is what we would consider, an integrated tower, mixed tenure, both with strata market as well as you can see in the bottom portion of the floors of this tower. That would be your non-market component. This is actually also providing units for tenants that were displaced by redevelopment to return to a new unit at similar rents. Some interesting, observations about mixed tenure buildings. I think it's an exciting form. You have this curb appeal where it all looks like one integrated development. Certainly, you can have some common amenities and also some complexities that have been, quite a learning curve for myself. So I'm also the approving officer at the city. So, Lisa gave me a call, and I was speaking with West Group as well. And it's like, well, what if we, in this case, because of course we're going to need to eventually register an airspace parcel, because these financing structures and ownership and non-profit operation, they have to be separate from the strata. So, there was the call, and it was suggesting early airspace parcel registration. So, what does that look like? We've only, at the City of Burnaby, typically registered, on the as-builts. But now we're talking about registering an airspace parcel before we even meet grade. So if you, have any questions on that, come see me. In terms of lessons learned, we're still involved, but, be nice to your solicitors, I guess, would be one. But we have a really awesome group of lawyers that are helping me out with this. But, you know, in all seriousness, you'd look at things like obviously super coordinated designs, you know, to the inch, you know, before you start construction. You'd look at surveys at each level, quality control, you know, and mitigating risk. And if there's anyone from the province, I've always wondered why we couldn't, you know, amend airspace parcels and their boundaries after the fact, but that's not possible. So you have to sort of adjust with, or you know, provide master easements or different other tools if there's encroachments beyond the airspace parcel. So conversely to, I guess, West Group's development, this is one where, and we see this in Metrotown a lot. So you have these bigger sites, and you can actually have the space and the building separation to provide your non-market in a wood frame, and then you have the separation to your market tower. So, you know, it's up for debate what works better. I think it's just good to offer the option to developers to consider either integrated development or wood frame. Wood frame obviously is cheaper. You know, it's debatable that might have better sustainability considerations to concrete, but, you know, on the other end, concrete's going to last for decades and decades. So we've allowed for that opportunity for developers and nonprofit housing providers to tell us what they would prefer. Interestingly, in this one, actually, the amenities are separate. So, you know, you'd say, well, is that a good thing? Should non-market housing have access to the strata's amenities? And, you know, originally, I think some of our planners were saying, yeah, well, why not, right? But then there's costs. So should a, you know, non-profit housing provider have to, or operator have to pay for a pool? You know, these are the things we tend to not get involved in so much. You know, I've encouraged our planners to focus more on the public good of the development, like try and get that statutory right of way over the path so we have public passage, or, you know, park dedication, or, you know, exceptional street standards. It seems that developers and their marketers do a lot of research on private amenities, so we don't get so involved. So here's, I won't spend a lot of time on this one, but another example, and this also is returning tenants after relocation, providing that opportunity for them. The previous one was actually inclusionary housing at the city, where we just require a certain percentage of units for new residents. But yeah, I'll just make one comment on this one. You know, we have a pretty robust transportation demand management policy. So if you want more information on that, I can provide that to you. And I would just encourage you to, if you do have these mixed tenure buildings or developments, you know, provide the same amenity for that to both the renters and the strata. At least that's our thoughts. So, you know, you might have different parking rates, you might have, you know, different amenities, but in terms of bike storage, transit subsidies, car share, just try and be even across the board. It seems to work well. We're ultimately trying for modal shift for both tenures. Okay, so this is kind of probably the textbook BC Builds experience for me. It's more recent. Lisa gave us a call, several months back, and asked us to be involved. This is one where, you know, maybe conversely to West Group, where they're a bit of a usual suspect. They've been, you know, developing for some time in Burnaby. You know, this is one where we got all the disciplines together, you know, and Lisa and the BC Builds team has been great to really have these reoccurring bi-weekly meetings where we talk about everything. So finances, development approvals, urban design, you know, the whole deal. It's a lot of time, but it's worth it, especially for projects that need it. We couldn't do it for every project, but I'd encourage you to identify the projects that need help, and then if BC Builds or others are there to provide resources, take them up on it. I'd also, you know, just make one comment on this one. Like, if there's that spirit of, you know, housing acceleration on the applicant side, like in this case, you know, try and think about your city policies or regulations equally pushing the envelope. So for this one, we decided to take it in as the first height-based framework application. So we're actually rewriting our zoning bylaw. We're getting rid of FAR. We're getting rid of, you know, gross floor area. I'm trying to encourage our planners to move beyond, and actually architects too. Like, we spend so much time, like as spreadsheet analysts, trying to figure out like if a electrical room is exempt from floor area. if a wall is thick enough for a green building standard, why don't we just focus on height, like some sound urban design principles, and move this through the process quicker? Because we know the green building standards, we know all these other pieces will take care of themselves, but we just spend a lot of time trying to figure out a number, and we want to move beyond that, and that number being FAR. So I can go back to the slides in the Q&A, or any questions there. I'm sort of trying to be on time, but yeah, definitely check out our OCP update. That's an exciting document. I'm most involved in the DAP update, so anything we can do to quicken up our process, as well as the zoning bylaw rewrite. And we're trying to deregulate and kind of focus where we can to add value. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. All right, so lots to absorb there. I hope that you're starting to think about some questions you might have.